I've had some supremely bad first lines written of books. Let's see if I'm any better at ending a novel. Probably not. Of course I picked The One Day I Look Like an Egg. I swear I still have on my hair. It's just the bun placement didn't really work out in my favor. I promise it's there though. Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Katie and I did a tier ranking my first lines of all of the books that I've written. Did that last January, 2 Januaries ago. And I decided I wanted to also do the last line since last time this video was hilarious. I had such a fun time filming it and I'm just gonna do it again because we love recycling content. Unlike that video, I have finished less things than I have started. I've started way more things. So I've actually only finished 4 novels. That's 8. 4 novels, and I have several short stories that I've also included that I didn't include the first time around. I don't know, I think I found them later or something. Like, there is no complete folio of all the shit that I've ever written, so I just pulled randomly from my Google Drive, and I pulled different things this time, somehow. My Google Drive is a mystery. It's Mary Poppins bag. And unlike before, I will not be using TikTok memes because I'm trying to take a break from TikTok. I'm trying not to use TikTok very often. And it's not really that effective, but I knew if I was looking for like audio memes that are relevant to today, I would get sucked into that. So I didn't do that. So instead, I just came up with 5 categories with my own creative brain as opposed to relying on others. And they are the top tier, which is Chef's Kiss, of course. The next one is like the middle high ground, and it's okay. You know, I don't hate it. Maybe not the best thing I've ever written, and also maybe not memorable, but you know, it's there. The mid tier is it needs editing, but it's salvageable. The middle low is delete it, I'm rolling my eyes. And then the bottom tier is throw it into the sun. And I probably shouldn't have admitted that I wrote this, but we're making this video for your entertainment, so I'm admitting it anyway. So we're first gonna start off with the 4 novels that I've written, and of course that naturally begins with The Wrath King. I never shut up about The Wrath King. It was the first book I ever completed. While the first line has changed many times, there have been many POV switches and seeing who is starting the story, the last line of the book has literally never changed. And I am cheating a little bit. I'm doing the last 2 lines just for a little bit more context. I do it with some of them. And it is, this is what Raktos wanted. He was sure of it. And for this line, I think I'm gonna put it in It's Okay, mostly because it is okay. It's okay. It's not memorable. Maybe it shouldn't be the last line of the novel, but it is because the last chapter of The Wrath King is an epilogue. It's not, you know, stunning. It's not great, but it is what it is. And then I decided, so this video wasn't just 5 minutes long, that I was going to do the last line from each of the POVs, since technically the epilogue is not from any of the POVs that you see in the book. It's from an entirely different character, which is that wise and advisable? I don't know. So we're gonna do draft 2 first because The Wrath King has gone through many drafts, many revisions, and there's not even the same characters telling the story as there was the first time. So the first last line is from a character called Ainley, who in the new version is in fact dead. I did kill him. So sorry, Ains. And this is Ainley's last line of draft 2. His last line ever, should I say, is Ainley rose from his chair and went to get to work. I'm gonna put Ainley in it needs editing, but it's salvageable. It's not offensive. It has no like grammatical errors. It's just boring, especially when I think of the context of his last scene. He's kind of sitting around with his other friends, his other bondmates, the king included, and they're kind of like discussing what path they should take. So like maybe this last line should be punchier, but maybe all of Ainley's POV should have been punchier. Maybe then he would have survived, but he didn't. He did not survive, and everyone else paid for it. Next we have Nola, who actually, if there ever is a new draft of The Wrath King, will no longer be in The Wrath King. She has her own world. She's off doing her own thing. Unlike Ainley, who got literally not literally, like his head didn't get chopped off, but like it was anyway. Nola is a very interesting character. I do love her a lot, but her plot line has always been a struggle for me within The Wrath King. But her last line in draft 2, because she's in draft 4, she made it through the chop of 2021 or 2020, and her line is, and when Calder dipped in and connected their lips, the fiery spark between them had not changed or dimmed in the slightest. Which, you know, here's the thing. Is it the best line I've ever written? No. Is it a great line for Nola and Calder? Yeah. I'm gonna put it in Chef's Kiss just because I feel like nothing else is gonna get into Chef's Kiss, and Nola and Calder make me fucking barrel. I love them. That's part of the reason why I keeping Nola and giving her own plotline so her and her sister and Calder and Cassian can thrive where they need to. Next up is Resley, who, if you don't know who Resley is, that's because she's another POV that got axed. She did not end up dying though. Probably wishes she did during the course of the book. But her final line of the book, which is her only final line of the book, even though I am planning on adding her back in, so she's gone through, like, Ainley has been chopped and not returned. Nola's getting chopped now and moved somewhere else. And then Resley was chopped, kept in the story, and now she's getting her POV back. Which, will I ever rewrite the Wrath King? Maybe. It's a lot of thinking going on. I'm gonna give you the paragraph because I love Resley and Asani's relationship. Asani is another character. She's one of my favorites of all time that I've ever written. She is such a sassy, witty, immortal bitch who doesn't care about anyone else, but like secretly cares a lot. Anyway, so here we go. Here's the last lines because I'm cheating. Asani looked up, her brow furrowed. "You've been here for an hour?" Resley and Pearl laughed. "Yes, and I would have sat here another 4 if it would have helped." Asani shook her head, but the corners of her mouth curled up. She reached forward for a cinnamon bun. "Well, now that I realize you're here, can we talk about something more pleasant than grief?" And I just like the context of that line. So I'm gonna give Resley, my girl Resley, a chef's kiss on that one. I love Resley and Asani's like friendship that I've written there. So maybe that's like blinding me a little bit. They're so cute. They're so cute. And the final character that is a POV in the original draft of The Wrath King is Lucien Darknight. And this line you'll see is very similar to his line next in draft 4. And so Lucien's last line is, "Lucien Darknight was not going home. He had shed the idea of being a Dark Knight master even before he met Casilda for tea. Lucien Conway was going home." So I like this one. It's a little too telly of a line, I think. And like within the context of the book, I think I could have just left it as Lucien Darknight was not going home, Lucien Conway was, or like something along those lines. It's funny how like this line does exist further down. So for that, I'm going to give it needs editing, but it's salvageable. So then going into the Wrath King draft 3 or 4, we have Nola again, which here is Nola's new last line. This is the most recent draft of the book. "She would not let her sister fall into the jaws of the beast. It was her destiny, her oath to protect Alara, even if it meant her destruction." The her is meant to be ambiguous there. Don't know if it really is. I think for this one, I'm gonna go with it's okay. I think word-wise, it's better than some of them. And maybe like I'm partially tainted because I know I'll never be coming back to her story within the Wrath King world. It's very much revealing a theme of Nola's, which is that she must protect her sister even if she dies doing it. It's very, very evident throughout the entirety of the book. But I'm gonna put it in okay. Maybe these aren't as bad as I thought they were. We haven't got to the bad ones yet. Trust me, people. So next we have Wesley, my boy Wes. My boy Wesley, I've put him through so much. He's lived on the struggle bus for ages. And so Wesley's last line is simply, "Wesley melted into her and together they wept." His ending of The Wrath King is certainly a doozy. I think that's the perfect word for it, actually. So for Wes, I'm gonna put it in It's Okay. Funnily enough, the person that he's weeping with is in fact Asani from Up Above with Resley. So like Asani's gone through grief regardless of who she is hanging out with. But unfortunately for her and Wes, there are no cinnamon buns. So it's just gonna go in okay. And then finally we have Lucien. This is his new last line. "Lucien looked back at the pyre. The flames were extinguished, the first bits of snow falling. He curled his cloak around him. It was time for Lucien Conway to return home." You actually learn in the new draft more about Lucien's backstory and like his life before all of the things of the Wrath King happened. And so like I really could not fit in a way to put like Lucien Darknight looked back at the pyre because like there's like a whole scene above it that happens where he's talking to Asani. Funnily enough, Asani's everywhere. And so yeah, he really does shed the mantle of being a Dark Knight, I think in a much better way. In this version, I'm gonna put the new Lucien one in It's Okay. Is it unique? No, not really, but it is very Lucien. So we're now out of the Wrath King era and we're into Be Gay, Solve Crime, Drink Blood, which is my vampire murder mystery book that I love with every inch of my being, but I will have to do a massive rewrite on. So, you know, we've been avoiding it. I was gonna put more to put context for this line, but just like the problem is with this one is that this line literally feasibly will not exist in the new draft. I just haven't drafted the new draft because the character that says this line is getting chopped out of the book. You will notice that's a theme of mine, and it is excellent. Emmeline said instead, "Shall we compare notes over sticky buns?" Seems to be a theme where there's a lot of food and sticky buns mentioned in my last lines. I don't know why that is, but it is. I don't love this line. I like the lead up to it, but for also the sake of the fact that Emmeline's getting chopped, we're gonna go with delete it. I'm rolling my eyes. I'm not rolling my eyes, but delete it feels appropriate for her. Next up, we have Cruel Summer. I've written a couple drafts of Cruel Summer, just 2 actually. This line has stayed the same throughout the entirety of its life, which is a very short lifespan because it's very new. But I love this last line. I think, it nearly feels like autumn in New York and the end of their cruel summer is sealed with a kiss. I have to get the Cruel Summer in there somehow. There is not a mention of Cruel Summer anywhere else in the book. But obviously the book is not actually titled Cruel Summer. Like Cruel Summer is not the like name for it. Like when I went out on Query, it has a different name, much like The Rat King has a different name. And so because it just has the iconic Cruel Summer line, I gotta put it in Chef's Kiss. I mean, I love her. She's my favorite. I love her. Next, of course, we have Invisible String, which is technically a sequel to Cruel Summer. Different couple. I talked about Invisible String before as well as Cruel Summer, and so you have our two characters. This one's a little bit different. I added more context to it because technically the last line of Invisible String is I love you, and it's a line. It doesn't give the full context of it, and I don't know, sometimes I just feel like I gotta give a little more to you, you know? Actually, the last paragraph is, so Elijah presses his forehead to Nikki's, and Nikki presses his wrist to Elijah's. It says all it needs to. I got you. I'll always be here. I love you. Which is very much like, I think I mentioned this in an Instagram post about how like the last line of this book is very much like encompassing of it, because this book is very much about love, romantic love, platonic love, but then also self-love. And it was very emotionally taxing to write. It is what it is, you know? So I really enjoy this. I have a very sentimental feeling for it. I do think it could be better. So I'm gonna put in, it needs editing, but it's salvageable. I like the actual last lines being that. I just think I could have finessed it better to be more applicable to the characters, like maybe give them a special thing that they say to each other or something. I was writing the end of this book in December with massive burnout, so you know, I was just trying to get those lines down, and all that really matters is that they love each other, so it needs editing. There are people having a party outside having fun. Apologies if you can hear that. Next, we're gonna move into actually some short stories that I have written, and the first one is one that I actually won an award for in college. I think I got first place in it. I think I have it up. I have my certificate up there, but it's called Butcher's Autumn, and I love this story. I love the beginning, the opening image of this book. Basic tenet is that every autumn, all of the trees weep this red sap that is extremely poisonous, and that if it touches any part of you, you will eventually die. So corrosive, like the whole metaphorical thing going on there. And these are the last lines of it. I still really like this idea. I think I could probably revise it at some point. I also maybe could make a full novel out of it. I just, not at this point, but it is there. And I don't think I've ever talked about this book before, or this short story. It's like 25 pages, I think, or like 25 pages double spaced. I can't remember. Asenna had sacrificed herself for me, killed a monster summoned from the dark below, accidentally set free by my father's axe. I couldn't stand on the side anymore, locked inside of a house full of memories and restraint. I wasn't afraid anymore. I was whole. It's also very interesting how all of these almost, except for the final two. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For the next 4 plus this one, so 5. They're all in first person, which I am not someone who usually writes in first person. But yeah, this has like monsters, vampires, sap creatures, I think. And so Butcher's Autumn is gonna go in. I think Butcher's Autumn is gonna go in deleted. I'm rolling my eyes because like this is not. I feel like I could just like revise this to be like a lot of wordiness here. I was very wordy. I still am, but I think if I could revise this, I would be like, I won't be locked inside a house full of memory and restraint. I won't be afraid anymore. I will be whole, or something like that. Something just that isn't nearly as fucking wordy as that, and like recapping what happened if you missed it. But like, why would I recap what happened? You literally just read it. So I'm gonna go with deleted. Like just, so next up we have an honorable mention. And by honorable, I do mean dishonorable. In the last video, I talked about She-Wolf, which is about a girl who was the only she-wolf born in the last millennia. And while this book isn't finished, it might as well be. Like, this was the longest thing I had written, like, when I was like 14 or 15 or something. Not even, younger than that, I think. I'm just gonna include this last line because I feel like we gotta check into where this girly pop is, even though it's technically not finished. I had like 6 more books planned in the book series, maybe even more than 6. And so for this one we have, after all the heart-pounding serious tension that lingered in the house, it felt good to let go and just laugh for the hell of laughing. Okay, girly pop, after all the heart-pounding, serious tension that lingered in the house, it felt good to let go and just laugh for the hell of laughing. You know, I don't think I'm at the level where like I want to throw it into the sun, unlike the first line, which I think is something like wolves like in country music. No, I'm gonna throw it into the sun. Next we have another short story that I wrote when I was like 13 years old. It's called Flight into Darkness, and I think the basic idea of it is there is a girl, there's like a clan, a coven of people who turn into ravens, and like when you reach a certain age, you like have your flight into darkness, you like turn into a raven for the first time, and you like go to this place, and then you like remember your past lives, and then someone destroys your past lives. I think I didn't reread it, but here's the last line of it. I glance at the daylight outside. slumping back against my pillows and into the cocoon of blankets, closing my eyes. I hate the light. Me too, girly pop. I want the night to come back so I can go out. I don't know how I got back into my bed, but I'm sure the Grimm had something to do with it. Someday, I am determined to figure out who he is. I think the Grimm is the one who like stole her memories or something. There's like some weird Willy Wonka shit going on there with like timey-wiminess, but I think we all know where this one's going. Yeah. Let's throw that into the sun. Honestly, her saying, I hate the light, I want night to come back so I can go out, like, is kind of hilarious. It's so like young teenage girl, like pre-teenage girl, who listened to way too much Evanescence and like Nox Arcana. Shout out if you know who Nox Arcana is. Is it not even Nox Arcana? Now I feel like I have to look it up. Or is that the name of the song? I feel like Nox Arcana. Oh yeah, it's the Haunted Gothic Soundscapes. Oh my gosh, they're still posting stuff? Oh my god. I'll leave them linked down below. Oh yeah, some of these I'm like, I recognize these covers, these thumbnails. Wow, that's sending me way back. Oh my god, this is 14 years old. The album Melody is 14 years old. Oh my god. Nox Arcana Grimm Tales is pretty much what I was listening to when I was writing Flight into Darkness, and you can tell. Anyway, we're throwing it into the sun. Next we have up The Catcher's Affair, which is also a throwback to the first lines. This is just a short story, but the last 3-ish lines, I knew what I would see. His pain, his hurt, his anger, his sorrow, his longing, his lust, his love, his dick. And I knew if I looked back, I wouldn't be able to do this. Girl, you shouldn't have done it to begin with. You were having an affair. Throw it into the sun. Throw the whole thing in the sun. Why was I reading about affairs at 12? I think I asked that question in my last video, but like, next we have Railroad Girl, which was very, you'll see. One simple word fell from her lips as the train rushed towards her. Goodbye. And then she stepped out onto the tracks. Once again, throw it into the sun. So we're finally in our last two. The next one is from a short story I wrote for the Writers Games, which I'm actually love this short story. I love it. The first line of this one is actually a mirror of the first line, which I haven't shared. I don't even think I'd written it back when I filmed the first video. The last line of Nowhere for Lost Souls is, so, in a town called Nowhere, in a shop that sold souls, a girl who could remove souls and a woman with a knack for knowing said souls shook hands and hoped fate was kind. And like, it's very wordy, but like, it's also a reflection of the first line. And just like, I really like it. I want to put it in Chef's Kiss. I think I'm going to ultimately put it in It's Okay, but I'm tempted. I'm tempted to put it in the other one. I think I'm going to keep it in It's Okay. Reading it out loud, it doesn't have quite the mouth feel that I thought it would. And finally, we have the last one, which is Violent Divinity, which I also wrote for the Writers Games, and I don't think I had this like written when I filmed the last video, much like Nowhere for Lost Souls. And this is about a family whose patriarch dies and they summon a goddess, and she basically tells them that they have to go kill a god for her. And so one of them does. One of the girlies, one of the sisters goes and she finds the reincarnated god who is in a beautiful nurse's body. And so she falls immediately in love with this nurse and realizes she can't kill her. And then, you know, tragedy strikes in a really uppity party thing, I think. So this is the last line of Violent Divinity. Despite not having a heart, she was certain whatever ice was there was shattered into too many pieces, impossible to glue together again. It's just, some of these lines, like, they're better than other lines. Maybe lines just need to be shorter. Maybe last lines just need to be shorter and punchier. But this one, I think I'm gonna give a delete it. I'm rolling my eyes because, girly pop, did we establish that you didn't have a heart? Like, are you being metaphorical there? Like, I really can't tell. I cannot remember either. I don't love it. I don't love it. So we're just gonna leave it be what it is. We're just gonna put it and delete it and hope, you know, one day come back to it and, you know, just write something new. No air suspended in lungs this time. No squishing frames into impossible like ways that human bodies don't work. I have less lines that are stupid because I've written less things when I was young and a stupid writer. Not stupid. When I was young and inexperienced, when I was young and naive and very amateur and not well honed in craft, which you can see that 2 of these things that I wrote after the first line video, even their last lines aren't that great. So, you know, everything needs revision. Everything needs revision. Is that the moral of this video? Maybe. That was my tier ranking of my last lines. I hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, you can subscribe so you never miss one of my videos. I post one every single week, and I got a lot of vlogs coming up because I'm trying to write one more book before I turn 25. A 5th manuscript before I'm 25. And if you did enjoy this video, make sure to like down below. It tells me you really enjoy this kind of content, and it really helps out my channel. Let me know your last lines down below of any project you've finished, and we can roast them together, or maybe you'll blow me out of the water with how amazing your last lines are. And if that is true, please tell me your secrets of how you actually efficiently write last lines, because clearly I need help. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.